Good afternoon, everyone. Our topic is all about moral responsibility. Objectives. Explain the two determinants of moral responsibility. Second, discuss the principle of responsiveness adjustment. Third, identify the condition of acts with unattended result. And the last, explain the principle of double effect list the associated skill. Moral responsibility defines the extent to which a person deserves blame or punishment, praise or reward, or should pay compensation for having done something wrong or having wrongfully harmed someone. It assumes that the person performing an act is personally accountable for the act. As such, moral responsibility concerns only the moral acts, or those which man performs knowingly and freely. So, moral responsibility refers to the idea that individuals are accountable for their actions, and they have a duty to consider the moral implications of those actions. In words, moral responsibility entails the idea that individuals must be held responsible for the consequences of their choices and actions, especially in situations where those choices have a significant impact on others.
Legal responsibility. Legal responsibility is based on penal laws or legal standards strictly enforced by the state. Legal responsibility is involved definite sanctions such as fines, imprisonments, and even death.
Legal responsibility means a duty imposed on someone to do something whenever imposed by the law or created by agreement. Legally responsible has corresponding meaning. For example, in a workplace, a supervisor has legal responsibility for ensuring employees follow safety protocols. If an employee is injured, the supervisor could be held accountable for not enforcing safety measures.
Determinants of moral responsibility. For a person to be held morally responsible for his act, it is important that his act be deliberate or voluntary. The act must be knowing and free. If a person fully knows and fully intends his act, then the act is perfectly voluntary. It is important to take note that a person is morally responsible only for his act, and what is effect in which it has is number one is knowledge of relevant facts and the morally wrongfulness of the act. Number two is freedom in performing the act. This explains why individuals below the age of reason the common norms of good conduct and is also within a person's power to ask information.
A person's moral responsibility also diminishes if the person is not acting freely, that is, by his own violation of powers. For instance, an unethical action or lying done under tremendous pressure or threat and intimidation is not entirely a free action. Therefore, a person who is control of his action is responsible for their consequences. For instance, a person who deliberately saves a drowning child deserves to be rewarded because his act, together with consequences, is praiseworthy, while a person who murders a helpless child deserves a punishment because his act, together with his consequences, is unspeakable evil. Moral responsibility is a complex and debated topic in philosophy and ethics. These are some factors contributing to moral responsibility including knowledge, intention, and etc. Knowledge refers to an individual's awareness of potential harm of moral implication of their actions. And the intention is a crucial. It indicates a person's moral character and degree of responsibility.
Action with an intended result. It is clear that a person is morally responsible for action which he performs deliberately and their perceived consequence, but he also morally responsible for the result he did not directly intend. A person is morally responsible for a wrongdoing he does unintentionally If after having known its wrongful nature, he does not adjust his behavior or does not adopt corrective measure to prevent future occurrence of the same wrongdoing. This statement is the moral responsibility is not solely determined by the intention behind an action, but also by the individual's awareness and response to their unintended result of their action.
Thus, a mother who now unintentionally poisons her children may be free from any moral responsibility, assuming her children survive the catastrophe. The mother now has a moral obligation to check and to make sure that the food she serves her children the next time are not contaminated. If she unintentionally poisons her children again, the mother is no longer free of her moral responsibility. She instead assumes full responsibility for the act and its unintended result. Thus, a person who repeatedly commits the same act that produces evil result not directly intended, even if his action remains involuntary, is no longer excused from guilt and assumes full responsibility for his act and its unintended consequences.
Directly related to actions with unintended results are actions with double effects. In cases where the act performed has produced two different consequences or results, one good intended and the other evil unintended, it is unclear whether the doer is morally liable for the evil result of his action. For instance, if a doctor, in the course of saving the life of a pregnant mother, incidentally aborts her unborn, is the doctor morally responsible for such evil and its unintended result, abortion? In this case, the direct intention, saving the life of the mother, is perfectly good, but the act has resulted not only saving the mother, which is morally good, but also in the incidental killing of the fetus, which is undoubtedly evil. Double effects. Alfredo Panizo, 1964, cites the following principle to determine theoretic responsibility of persons whose acts produce double effects. A human act from which two effects may result, one good and one evil, is morally permissible under four conditions. If any of these conditions is violated, then the action is not justifiable and should not be done. These four conditions are: number 1, the action which produces double effect must be good in itself or at least morally indifferent. Number 2, the good effect must not come from the evil effect. To do evil in order to achieve something good is not justified. Number 3, the motive of the doer must be towards the attainment of the good. The evil is permitted only as an incidental result. And lastly, number 4, the good effect must outweigh the evil result in its importance.
On Pinizo principle and following its four conditions, we can say that the doctor in our case example is not morally responsible for the evil effect because first the act of saving the mother is in itself good. Second, the good effect, which is the life of the mother has been saved, does not come from the evil effect but from the therapeutic act itself. Third, the motive of the doctor is towards the attainment of the good, which is the saving of the life of the mother, and abortion as a evil effect is just an incidental result. And lastly, the good effect, which is the saving of the life of the mother, outweighs in importance the evil result.